Whenever you guys are ready, can you talk through what you built?
Yeah, so we designed a universal infrared LED-based remote that can control any infrared device. It's battery powered, so you can flick it on and it'll go through a boot sequence, which takes a fairly long time because it reads all the data off of an SD card. And then you can cycle through, you can go into the button, you can scroll up and down, you go back out of a button, and you can broadcast any of these buttons that you want, and you can store 10 remotes, 8 buttons apiece, with signals of up to 99 bit flips coming out of the LED per button, which is a lot. But we did run into memory issues that were hidden, and as we've known, didn't like to be flagged by the compiler, and that was a bit of a bummer because it resulted in tons and tons of debugging. But the system itself is running on a small LCD screen. It's 435 by 130 pixels. It refreshes only on button presses. There is threading, but only for the use of the serial input when the PuTTY core is being run to program the device. Currently that core is not running, it's only running on one core. When you program the device, the core that's running the display and the broadcasting completely shuts off. There's nothing running on that core so that there is no interference with the PuTTY and programming of the device itself. The functionality is joystick navigates the menus. You go in and out of remotes to wherever it is that you want to go. So that you go into remote, you go up and down. These are all the remote names. Okay. In this case, they're temperatures because this is an AC unit. And then this one has all the logistics of the AC unit in it.
Cool.
This button up here will then broadcast, and this button on the other side will initialize the serial interface.
Okay.
So that will shut the core off. And when you press that button, it will let you know on the screen that you're running the serial interface and won't allow you to do anything. So we can demonstrate that. Plug this in.
So just launch it.
Yep. Open PuTTY. And we'll maximize it and then good measure. And then when you press this button, it will let you know that you're running the serial interface.
Running serial interface, and
that
it brings
will
us a message here.
Pop up saying, do you want to program a button? Which programming a button subsequently can program a remote. So you can't program necessarily a remote with no button because that doesn't really make much sense. You can do it by just putting a null name in for the button, but it sort of cleaned up the user interface a lot if we just have it this way. So then the actual programming looks like you press 1 to program a button. You can either add a new remote or not. Like, let's say we want to add a TV on here. So we'll put TV in, and then we'll name this one maybe power. Click enter, and now it's waiting to record the signal. You then take your remote and you shine it into the receiver, which is on the front, and it sets the button. Then that automatically refreshes the display with the new remote programmed on the remote screen, and then you can go in there and see the same button is programmed and broadcast it immediately.
Cool. Very cool.
And the real magic is, so now that it's programmed, well, one, we can unplug it from PuTTY, it still works on its own, then we can power it off, let it sit for a second because it takes a second to power off, and then turn it back on. And the whole boot sequence takes a minute because it now has to read all the data off of the .txt file. That's how it's stored, and the remote is still there.
But it's retained to the TV because you're logging that information in an SD card?
Yep.
Okay.
And that will stay there, and it can be modified by like pulling it up on your computer.
Okay.
The file system is like fairly rudimentary. It's all saved in a text file in order of keyword and then the resulting actual word that you want to save, and then a button, and then the signal follows the button. And so if you want to delete buttons or something like that and you don't want to go through the hassle of having to plug it in and everything, you can just take the SD card out, delete it all. You can also wipe the file, you can do whatever you want. And if you put in an SD card that's blank, it will create the file for you and start logging on there.
Very cool. Really thoughtfully put together.
And it works. Which we've had a lot of issues. The SD card library is extremely finicky. Timing is really weird. The LCD library has been the easiest to implement. The outputting of, we thought we were having an error outputting the infrared signal, but it turns out that we weren't probing the LED. We're actually probing our own receiver to see the output because that's what the device is receiving. We wanted to see if we could make it match. but because they're not directly pointed at each other, they don't look very good. But when you probe the actual LED and then you put the receiver in a better location, it looks perfect. So we had a bunch of debugging that was just because our things weren't pointed at each other, which is a little bit foolish. But if we want to then say turn this on, we go a little closer because the range is a little weak, and we could turn it on, and we could then set the temperature. Let's go maybe like 68 or 78 or 76.
Okay.
And we'll go 76.
Wow.
And you can set whatever you want, and then you can turn it off with just the off button. And it's pretty good.
Cool.
And one of the features that this remote has that some infrared remotes don't have is the ability to hold the broadcast button and it will keep broadcasting. The reason for that is our range is not necessarily perfect. So we had the idea, do we want to add a delay or do we want to add it so you can only single broadcast? And we decided no, because it's pretty handy to be able to keep broadcasting. Because you never really know if you're in range, and if you just hold it that way, you get frustrated, you're like, just hold it. And then it works eventually. And yeah, that's about it.
Very cool. Really, really thoughtfully put together. Very nice. The little TFT screen is sort of just the right size for this thing. Yeah. Really cool. Thank you.